brought to you by Thomas Allgaier and Frennis. This edition highlights key LinkedIn posts on commercial fleets from weeks 8 and 9. Frennis supports automotive enterprises and consultancies with market, customer, and competitive intelligence in the commercial fleet sector, with a strong focus on digital solutions and emerging technologies.
Glad to be here for this one.
Yeah, welcome back to the deep dive, and welcome to you, our listener. Today, our mission is to filter through the noise and analyze the absolute top commercial fleet trends we saw across the industry during calendar weeks 8 and 9 of 2026.
It is genuinely great to be diving into this batch of insights. When you sit back and look at the curated posts from these 2 weeks in aggregate, a very clear and almost unavoidable overarching narrative emerges.
Right.
We are watching the mobility industry rapidly, and if I mean rapidly, shift from a traditional focus on hardware and physical assets to something entirely different. The physical trucks, the vans, the depots, they're increasingly just the vessels. The real value being discussed by professionals right now is all about data orchestration, AI, and strategic energy management. Basically, the network is becoming the product.
Right, the network itself. And we're going to cover exactly how that's happening by moving through 4 main clusters today. We've got data platforms, safety and risk, electrification, and finally, payments.
Sounds like a solid roadmap.
So let's jump right into that first theme: fleet management, telematics, and data platforms. When you look at the discussions happening right now on LinkedIn, what is the fundamental change in how fleets are handling their data architecture?
What's fascinating here is the definitive end of the vertical sauce era.
Okay.
There were some really sharp insights shared recently by Denis Demyanikov and Adnan Wassini pointing this out. For the better part of a decade, if you were managing a fleet, you essentially had to mold your entire operation around the limitations of the software you purchase.
Which was always incredibly frustrating.
Exactly. You bought a routing platform, and if you wanted to add maintenance tracking, you were either stuck with their subpar add-on module, or you had your dispatchers staring at 3 different monitors that just couldn't communicate with each other.
Right, the silo effect.
Exactly. Now, fleets are moving toward flexible, AI-ready infrastructures where the data is completely decoupled from those rigid applications.
That makes so much sense. It's the idea that the software should finally work for the fleet rather than forcing the fleet manager to constantly adapt to the software.
Right.
And that concept of liberated data ties directly into a huge theme we saw coming out of Geotab Connect. We saw a lot of posts from folks like Karen McMinn and Stephen White about this. Specifically, Geotab's CEO, Neil Cause, made a statement that really anchored the whole discussion.
Oh, the food quote.
Yes. He said, "Data is the food for AI."
It's so true, though.
It is. Telematics has evolved so far beyond just putting a blinking dot on a digital map. It's now about feeding enough high-quality data into a system to create a near real-time digital twin of your entire operation.
And that concept of a digital twin is critical. If you want artificial intelligence to actually make complex operational decisions for you, or even just highlight hidden risks, it cannot work with fragmented spreadsheets.
It's the full picture.
Exactly. Complete, connected, trusted data. That was the driving force behind the launch of Geotab Ace, which is their new AI assistant built directly inside My Geotab.
Oh, right.
The upgrade here is that fleet managers don't have to spend hours writing SQL queries anymore. You just type a question in plain English, and the AI synthesizes the answer because it already sees the full operational picture.
But to get that full picture, companies really have to stop operating in silos.
Sure.
I actually saw a post from Chris Cabrera and Corey Coslin talking about Lixzone.
Yeah, that was interesting.
They are aggressively moving toward this all-in-one approach, physically combining video safety, telematics, and AI processing into a single platform. And the skill is just hard to wrap your head around. They are backing this with 300 billion miles of driving data.
Think about the machine learning implications of that for a second. When your AI models are trained on 300 billion miles of real-world context, their ability to accurately predict a collision is going to be incredibly refined. But having the smartest AI doesn't matter if you can't get the data out of the vehicle reliably.
Which is a huge physical challenge.
It really is.
Yeah.
Shah Emda Bahadur Alam shared an update from Bongo IoT about their new eSIM connectivity, and it highlights these intense hardware realities. We aren't talking about a smartphone sitting in an air-conditioned office.
Right. These are out in the elements.
Automotive-grade durability, functioning perfectly anywhere from minus 40 degrees Celsius in a Canadian winter to plus 70 degrees in a desert summer.
not to mention the logistical nightmare of trucks crossing borders. The fact that these new eSIMs have remote profile switching means that when a truck drives from Germany into Switzerland, the system just downloads a local carrier profile over the air. No massive roaming charges, no swapping physical SIM cards. But I imagine a fleet manager listening right now might be thinking, well, this is great. I want to collect every single data point possible, just in case. Why is keeping everything actually hurting them?
That is the cost of clutter. Vivek Panthan-Kandath pointed out what a massive hidden financial drain this has become. Redundant telematics data is quietly eating away at IT budgets.
How so?
Well, think about a modern connected truck. It comes with an OEM built-in telematics system sending data. Then the fleet installs an aftermarket device for their specific software, plus a dash cam recording GPS and speed.
Oh, so they're duplicating everything.
Triplicating it in some cases. The fleet is paying to collect, transmit, and store the exact same braking signals 3 different times. It drastically inflates cloud storage costs. The next true phase of maturity isn't about collecting more data. It's deciding what not to keep.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. When you strip away that clutter and focus on highly specific data, you see life-saving innovations. Søren Hertzer posted about a new interface being deployed between Draeger and Geotab. They are actively linking alcohol interlock events directly into the telematics workflow.
That's a huge integration.
It is. If a driver blows above the legal limit, the hardware physically prevents the engine from starting, as it always has. But now, that specific event is instantly transmitted to the fleet manager's dashboard in real time, rather than just being logged locally for an audit 6 months later.
The broader context behind that is incredibly sobering. The update noted there were over 37,000 alcohol-related road accidents in Germany alone in 2023. By taking preventive hardware and wiring it directly into a platform like Geotab, fleets can proactively intervene.
And a backup driver immediately.
Exactly. It shifts fleet data from a passive historical record to an active mechanism for preventing disasters before a truck even enters a public road.
And that active prevention transitions us perfectly into our second major theme: safety, risk, and compliance. We're finally at a point where AI's impact on safety is highly measurable.
The data is undeniable now.
Chris Shank and Christopher Flood shared insights from Verizon Connect's 2026 Fleet Technology Trends Report. 80% of fleets now rely on GPS tracking as a baseline. But for those that deployed AI video telematics, they saw a massive 48% reduction in accident-related costs.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, though, there's a psychological trap that operators fall into here. Steve Lockington and Crystal Zile had a great discussion highlighting the plateau problem.
The plateau problem.
Yeah. A fleet invests in shiny new AI cameras. The drivers know they're being monitored, so safety metrics improve drastically for the first few months. But then
it levels off.
It hits a ceiling and stops improving. Because the issue at that stage is no longer a tech problem, it's a behavior management problem. Pinging drivers with an alert after they make a mistake doesn't actually build long-term habits.
Which means the way we measure success has to change. Crystal Zile argued that you have to pivot from lagging indicators to leading indicators. Staring at accident reports on a Friday is a lagging indicator. The damage is done.
Right.
A leading indicator is checking your dashboard on Monday to see how many preventable idling incidents occurred, or checking the completion rates of driver coaching modules.
The focus has to be continuous engagement. That's exactly what Geotab Vitality is attempting to solve. Instead of just penalizing bad driving, they reward sustained safe behavior over time. They're claiming a 41% improvement in safe driving metrics in under 60 days through that continuous engagement.
And when those habits stick, the financial outcomes are transformative. Jeffrey Berry shared a real-world example about Redway Transport. By fully committing to AI dash cams and a coaching culture, they achieved 0 at-fault accidents.
That is incredible.
0. And having that indisputable video context completely insulated their drivers from those fraudulent crash-for-cash claims.
The commercial auto insurance industry is absolutely taking notice, too. Ron Arnold and Steve Hemingway shared actuarial insights showing a 22% lower claims frequency when these platforms are used consistently.
Wow.
And even more impactful, a 50% drop in bodily injury claims.
50% is massive. Speaking of moving quickly, the speed of compliance is also getting an upgrade. Jurokay brought up the concept of a digital permit book. The standard now is being able to see full compliance status across all jurisdictions in under 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Yeah. And Jen Langen pointed out that compliance in 2026 goes way beyond hours of service. She warned that connected fleets must prioritize cyber awareness and identity protection as foundational safety measures.
Well, if we accept that modern trucks are essentially massive rolling computers, then cybersecurity is non-negotiable. And the fact that these vehicles are essentially computers perfectly frames the massive infrastructure challenge happening right now, because they're increasingly running on massive battery packs.
Which brings us to theme 3, electrification, charging operations, and energy management. We are seeing deployments reach incredible scale. Tyler Philippi used Amazon as the benchmark.
The Amazon scale is wild.
30,000 electric vans, 17,000 chargers. The vehicles are clearly ready for the daily grind. But the new constraint isn't range anxiety anymore, it's grid capacity.
Grid capacity is arguably the single largest bottleneck right now. If a logistics company tries to plug 100 EV vans into a local industrial park grid at 6 p.m.,
they'll completely overload it.
Exactly. And upgrading transmission lines takes years. But Tyler highlighted OptiGrid's battery-integrated charging approach. Instead of pulling massive power directly from the grid to charge trucks, the depot installs a stationary battery.
So it acts as a buffer.
Exactly. It slowly pulls low-voltage power from the grid 24 hours a day, stores it, and then delivers high-power fast charging to the vehicles at night. It bypasses the utility bottleneck entirely.
Steph Cornelis actually shared a proof of scale for this exact concept from his visit to IKEA's Sydney distribution center. 3 years ago, 5% of their deliveries were electric. Today, it's 85%.
That's a huge jump.
They supported it with a 1 megawatt stationary battery on site, plus rooftop solar covering up to 70% of the warehouse's energy.
It's a phenomenal model, but a system like IKEA's requires an enormous amount of upfront capital. What happens to the mid-sized carrier who doesn't have millions in cash?
Sure.
That's driving these asset-light business models. Claudio Geiken, Inabehe Ufert, and Patrick Holm were discussing J&A Technologies. It's a joint venture between Stadinia and Sender using a pay-per-use model specifically for heavy electric trucks.
So it removes the upfront cost and the residual value risk for small carriers.
Completely. They have over 50 of these electric trucks on the road already, aiming for 200 in Europe by 2026. Mauricio Sardi echoed this, stating the future is zero capex, data-optimized electric capacity.
But if a company does own their private charging depot, Michael Andronikou highlighted a clever way to monetize it. By opening those private, underutilized depots to the Shell card network during the day, fleets can generate new revenue.
Maximizing the asset. Nick Burke shared a similar concept from Curo Charging, their virtual depot model. They connect fleets to idle chargers at commercial properties overnight, boosting parking utilization by 200%.
Morris Subnell really summarized this energy cluster perfectly. He said fleets must treat energy as a controllable strategy. The winners won't just be the ones who electrify first, but those who operate the smartest, turning electric depots into grid assets.
Which naturally leads into our final theme for today, fleet commerce, payments, and fueling.
Yes. Victor Lipsyk pointed out that while vehicles get the glory, payment reconciliation, settlement, and price transparency are massive bottlenecks for scaling EV fleets.
It's a severe friction point. Asma Rachidi shared a projection that fleet cards are evolving from simple fuel payments into mobility orchestration. The market is projected to reach $1.7 trillion by 2030.
Okay, let's unpack this. Florian Burm shared an update on his first day as CEO of Ride. They are building an in-vehicle payment OS for seamless fueling, charging, and washing directly from the cockpit. Zero physical cards required.
And when you tie transactions to the vehicle hardware, it unlocks data security. Victor Gonzalez updated us on Flevo integrating Petro-Canada fuel card data directly with Samsara Telematics.
So they match fuel transactions to real-time vehicle movement.
Instantly detecting fraud and unifying spend visibility.
And it circles right back to the power of data integration. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, new episodes drop every 2 weeks. Also check out our other editions on electrification and battery technology, future mobility and market evolution, and next-gen vehicle intelligence. Hit subscribe and share these insights with your colleagues.
Before you go, this raises an important question. We've seen that successful professionals aren't just managing trucks. They manage roaming data centers, mobile energy storage, and payment hubs. The physical movement of goods is becoming the commodity. Orchestration of data and energy is the real product. So are you running a logistics operation or are you building a data and energy network?